My name is Devonte Duncan. I'm a software engineer living in Brooklyn, New York. My base salary is $159,000 a year. I'm gonna be sharing everything about my finances. This is cost of living. I'm a level 3 software engineer at a tech company in New York City. My annual base salary is about $159,000. I did get a sign-on bonus of about $20,000, and I did spend that on a Tesla Model 3 back when it was super expensive. When I got hired, I received $100,000 in equity in the form of RSUs that vested over the period of 4 years. So yearly, that brought my total salary up to around $215,000 to $240,000. And that ran out pretty much. So now I'm back down to the base $159,000 a year. My monthly salary is $13,250. My take home after taxes, after healthcare, after every deduction is about $7,752 a month. The only additional side income that I earn is from my YouTube channel, which is Dose of Devi. And I believe at its peak, I was earning about $300 to $400 a month. And now it's about $100 a month just because I haven't been making videos as often as I was before. I work 5 days a week, and there was an RTO policy at my job. So I go in Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the other days I just work from home. I live in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in Midwood, Brooklyn for $3,450 with parking. My portion of the rent specifically is $2,450. I currently live with my girlfriend, Erin, my partner in crime. And the way that we split finances is basically based on whatever makes sense and what feels equitable. So for me, since I make significantly more as a software engineer than she does as a school teacher, I take the brunt of most of the bills. So she gives me a flat $1,000 every month, and then all of the utilities and the rest of the rent is on me. The total amount of money that I pay for utilities is around $500 a month. So for internet, it's about $90. For gas, it's about $90. Electricity, it's around $250. For the phone bill, it's about $20. And for streaming services, it's about $46 a month. Welcome to my apartment. Let me show you around. Come on inside. We got the kitchen first up. It's got a beautiful island, which it's open concept kind of, but it provides a nice little separation between the living room area and the kitchen area. I got a dishwasher going on down here. Very convenient because I don't like to hand wash dishes anymore. I have an actual it's real fire. Apparently the new builds in New York City can't have that anymore. It's gotta be electric, but this is real fire, which is fun. This is the extent to which we have storage for our dishes. So plates, cups, and then that leads into the living space. We do like to host. So this table is actually really cool because if you have more than like 2 people over, you can extend it, which is very fun. And then you just take that little piece, add it there. This is our beautiful wall full of stuff that we got from random places. This is our dog Mud Pie. So one thing you might not have noticed is this is where we store Mud Pie at night. This is where he sleeps, this is where he stays. It's a dog crate, but it didn't quite look like a dog crate, but it's real comfortable for him in there. Got a 70-inch TV, and next to it is my PS5 and a PC that I did buy pre-built, but I've been swapping out the parts with upgraded parts for a couple of years, so it's almost like I built it myself. And then this plant that's not a plant is actually a litter box, so it kind of blends in nicely. So out here we have the balcony. I got some storage back there. I have a bench here so that if you want to come out here, drink some coffee or something like that, do some work, it's nice and convenient. This is the grill. I've never used a grill. This is a brand new grill, so when it stops raining, hopefully I get to use that. And for the storage here, this is all of our random seasonal decorations, beach chairs, that kind of thing. We also have here in unit washer and dryer and bags full of bags, because you got to have that in an immigrant household. And then back here, my cat's food and water. So I have an automatic water fountain and an automatic feeder for him. And then through here, we have my office. So this is pretty much where I spend most of my time. I work from this office. This is my desk. I got the 2-screen setup with 2 laptops and a Mac Mini. One is my work laptop, one is my personal, and the Mac Mini is for mostly editing videos for my YouTube channel. And then I have this tablet that I got from my friend for like $100. I use this if I want to like work, but also watch a YouTube video, but not on my laptop. Well, my work laptop specifically. This cute little thing is my girlfriend's laptop with her little figurines on the top of it. And then this right here is just more storage. It's supposed to be like a nightstand, but it's also a refrigerator that normally I'll have like beverages in there that keep cool. And then this is a standing desk itself. This is a Logitech Herman Miller that was expensed by my company. And then over here is where I keep all of my camera gear, specifically for my YouTube channel. So like I have my camera here. I have a Polaroid camera that I got from Japan. I have my stabilizer, some tripods, all that good stuff. And then on the shelves is pretty much just like art that me and my girlfriend like to collect. So like I collect these little figurines. They're a little bit expensive though, like they're like $20 each because they're all blind boxes. These are the rest of her Hironos. Remember, I did say these are like $20 each, so just imagine the investment here on that. And then there's this map right here that we've been filling out. So whenever we visit a country together, we'll scratch it off. Hopefully one day we can fill in every single continent, we'll see. And then through here, we have bedroom number 2. Technically this is number 1, it's the master bedroom. So we got a giant king size bed. This is my first time having a king size bed because every time I've ever lived anywhere, I didn't have the master bedroom and it was never this big. First king size bed, you can sleep in any configuration you want. We got this beautiful vanity over here where my girlfriend does her makeup and all that good stuff. And then we have a bathroom in there. And we also have 2 closets. So there's one here, this is mine. It's pretty shallow, not much going on in there, really messy though. And then we have hers, which is like kind of a walk-in closet if you really look at it, but it's big. It's very nice. This is where she keeps all her stuff because she has 10 times the amount of things that I have. And that is pretty much the apartment. I was living in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in Flatbush in Brooklyn, but the rent there started at $4,100 and then it went up to $5,100. And at that point, it stopped making sense. And so I moved further down into Brooklyn where the prices were a little bit cheaper. In my opinion, if I had to decide on whether or not I'm actually getting value for everything that I'm paying for, I would say yes, for the most part. Getting a 2-bed, 2-bath in Brooklyn, New York in 2026 for $34.50, it's nearly unheard of. So this is actually a really good deal. Mind you, parking is included in that. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Pretty much most of my family still lives here. Some of my family lives in Florida. I did spend some time down there living with them too. And then I moved back, and ever since I've been back, I've had no desire to leave Brooklyn, mostly because this is the part of the city that feels most like home to me. It's not as chaotic or as crowded as somewhere like Manhattan or Queens, but it feels a little bit more modern and has a lot of niceties like those little cafes, that little hole in the wall where you can get a pastry here and there. And it's all in all always gonna be my favorite borough, and that's why I've chosen to live here. It has been a little bit disheartening to see how the cost of living has raised over the years, because I think ever since I became aware of finances, watching my family's first apartment go from $900 to my apartment now going up to $34.50, and even the one before this being almost like $5,100. It's kind of crazy because it's all in the same neighborhood or something similar. So Brooklyn is home, and I hope it stays that way. Ideally, I'd love to buy one of those $1 million houses in Kensington and raise my family there. So maybe one day I'll start a company that makes me that amount of money and I can buy a home here. But until then, I'll be paying New York City rent just like everybody else. I now own a 2019 Subaru Outback. So the 2021 Tesla Model 3 that I owned, I bought that car for about $60,000. I put a $20,000 down payment on it, so I had a loan for about $40,000. And so when I traded that car in for the 2019 Subaru, there was like $5,000, $6,000 I had to pay in between to make that trade. and driving the Subaru now. My monthly car payment is $454 a month, and the insurance is $208 a month. The other expenses that come with that car are obviously the gas. That comes out to around $90 a month if I'm filling it up twice a month. And then I do have a parking spot that I pay $200 for, but that's included in the rent. And then $50 for MTA. For transportation, in Brooklyn, it's a little bit weird because if you want to go up or down, it's easy. You just hop on the nearest train. But if you want to go horizontally across Brooklyn, it's kind of a nightmare. You have to wait in either the hot sun or the freezing cold for a bus. And I'm not gonna lie, I refuse to do that. And so I have a car. I will use that car to drive around Brooklyn unless it's time to go into the city. And because I don't want to pay congestion pricing or almost $10 an hour for street parking, I'll typically take the train up to the city. And that's normally how I get around. So I think transportation in New York City is cheap when you look at transportation anywhere else in the world. Like I visited Japan earlier this year and you have to pay based on how far you go. Whereas here it's just $3 no matter how far you go. At my salary, that's not very much, but I do remember what it was like when I was making $10 an hour. It does add up. So it's nice that we have like the weekly unlimiteds and the monthly unlimiteds. That helps a lot. And then this city increasingly feels like it's trying to make owning a car expensive. I do understand that I could just not have a car, but then that means I'm completely locked to New York City. So if I wanted to go to New Jersey without having to take the PATH train, or to Pennsylvania or to Boston or Rhode Island, I wouldn't be able to do that unless I'm willing to pay exorbitant amounts for Amtrak. So it's definitely on the more expensive side if you're taking or using anything other than in the MTA subway. So typically from month to month, it's about $600 that I'm spending for food, and that's about $400 for grocery shopping and now $200 for eating out. So over time, I found that like before, I would typically flippantly spend money on food just because I felt like I had a lot of it. And so when I went to the grocery store, I would just sort of grab things at random, and I would find that, well, now I'm missing this and that, and then I'd go back and spend more money, or I would just eat out most of the time. Didn't really care very much about where I was eating from or what the prices were. Nowadays, I'm a lot more diligent about how I spend my money, and so I'll have a fixed budget that I transfer into a spend account so that I can actually spend only that amount of money and be careful with it. And so I'm back to the basics now. So I just came back from grocery shopping. I got a couple of the classics, things you can find in any grocery store, not things I would typically buy, but things that I just want to show you what it costs in New York City. So we have some Wonder white bread. I have 1.25 liters of Coca-Cola. Then we have a gallon of milk. We have some rice. And then we have a dozen eggs for $1.99. And the total for all of these items was $16.90 with added tax of 20 cents. Okay, so I'll show you what we normally do have. We typically try to plan out what we're gonna eat a week in advance. So this is where we'd write all of that. We don't have everything we need just yet, but I'll show you what we do have. So we do like to make matcha at home. So normally we make that with some oat milk. And then we like to keep our matcha chilled as well. And for a typical breakfast, when I don't forget to eat breakfast, I'll normally just eat some yogurt with some blueberries and then maybe some granola that I have in another drawer somewhere. And then if I get hungry for lunch, I'll typically make like a hot dog or something like that. And then we just have some greens so that we don't feel like we're eating too many carbs or too many proteins without balancing it out. And then in the freezer, we've got more greens, but frozen this time. So green beans, more blueberries, fries for when you're hungry, but you don't quite feel like cooking. Some ices. This is how I've been curbing my snacking condition. I'll just pop a couple of these and I feel a little bit better. We got some burgers, more hot dogs, ice cream, bottle of tequila. That's pretty much what's in the fridge right now. And this is like pre-actual grocery shopping. And that's the fridge. So my eating habits now are very different from what they were in the past. Before, I was very much in eat out every single day kind of guy, because for one person, I found that grocery shopping and eating out is almost around the same price just because of how expensive food has gotten. But now that I'm in a relationship with my girlfriend, I've found that as we live together and as we shop together, cooking at home is a little bit more cheaper and a little bit more cost effective, because now the meals that we make can last us more than a couple of days, rather than just you order something, you eat it right then and there, and then you do the same thing again tomorrow. Ordering for 2 on Uber Eats, very expensive. You will hit $100 faster than you think. One big thing that's changed over time is when I first started making 6 figures, I remember me and all my friends, we'd go out to eat, and the first thing I do is say, guys, I got it. I put my card down, I pay for like 10 people. Back then, it felt really cool to do. Now, I go out to eat a lot less. I hang out with less friends because I know I've already set the trend of I'm picking up the tab, and I don't want to do that anymore because it's super expensive. And dropping like $300 on a bill every couple weeks, it starts to add up. So it's definitely changed a lot over time. So I do have a short but fun list of hobbies. The first and most expensive one is building out my passion project, which is openborough.nyc. It's a civic dashboard for all of New Yorkers to be informed of local politics. So I think the total amount that I spend on openborough.nyc is around 200 to 250, maybe even 300 sometimes, for Cloud Code, which is $100 a month. And then I have hosting and analytics, which is $20, $10 respectively. And then sometimes I do these huge data pulls because city data is all over the place. It's kind of expensive to do. That can run me up to $100 each instance, but I try not to do that more than once a month. So that's the total expenditure for that. And this is Open Borough. So you can come here, choose your district. I'm not gonna pick where I live because I don't want you to know that. I'll just pick this random spot right here. Then you get to see all of your representatives, from your city council member all the way up to your senator. And then you'll come in here, you can find out what their score is, their participation, their legislative effectiveness, their activity, their attendance, their ethics record. You can get emails about what they're doing, how they're voting, and then you get an idea of what legislation has been passed. So you can share this, or if you want to just go straight to the source, you can go here, which is what the city has provided, which is not as pretty to look at, which is why I decided to make this in the first place. And all this information is public, it's just spread out, difficult to put in one place so you can get an understanding of what's actually going on. And that is what Open Borough is for. And then the next one is my YouTube channel, where I talk about the job that I do. So I make a lot of day in the life videos at Dose of Devi on YouTube. The upkeep is pretty cheap. I just have a couple of subscriptions to things like artlist.io for stock footage and things of that nature, but I don't really spend much outside of that. And then after that, I do play a lot of video games. I used to play on PS5, but now I play on PC. So I think I estimate I've spent maybe $250, $300 in the last 3 years on video games, specifically for my PC. I do travel a lot, so that's a big interest of mine. So earlier this year, I went to Japan. I think that ran me about $2,500 to $3,000 for a 2-week trip out there. Also went to Brazil earlier this year. I went to a Bad Bunny concert. That did cost a pretty penny, but it was worth every single penny, not gonna lie. And I think that entire trip, including that concert, ran me about another $3,000. So I don't typically have like a hard and fast budget that I stick to when it comes to travel. I'm typically just looking at whatever's available during the time that I'm willing to go. And then if it's feasible based off the money I have, I take the deal and I go with it. And that's worth it for me. I do have a health insurance plan through my employer. It's a PPO plan and an FSA plan that come out to around $110 total. I do have a gym membership at Planet Fitness for about $40 a month, but I don't actually go because the building I live in now has a gym, so I typically will go there. But one day I'll get around to canceling that membership because it's a little too expensive. I did have a medical emergency that I had to address, which was getting 2 root canals and crowns as well. And that came out to about $1,600. I unfortunately wasn't able to use my health insurance for that because I had used it for previous dental work. So when it came down to having to get those crowns, that was out of pocket. So I lived in Florida with my dad for maybe 4 or 5 years, and then I moved back here with my mom, and I finished middle school, finished high school, graduated, went to college, and I was a physics major at City College for about 3 years before I started realizing that my experience there was starting to become unsustainable. I took out a loan for about $2,000 because I was already working to pay for books and other expenses on the side. And that started to take a toll on my GPA. And as a result, I lost a merit scholarship that meant college was going to get more expensive. And so past that point, I realized, okay, it's time to drop out and find something else. And that's when I found the Marcy Lab School. It was basically a year-long software engineering fellowship. Afterwards, I would get a job. And so I decided to drop out and do that. And I didn't tell my parents because naturally the last thing you want to tell a bunch of Caribbean immigrants that came here specifically so that their future kids can have a better life is that you dropped out of college, the one thing they wanted you to do. And so I didn't tell anyone in my family that I dropped out, but I got my first job and I was making almost 6 figures in my first role out of that fellowship. And it did take, even then, my mom was still like, but you still need a degree, they'll probably pay you more. And that's not true. A degree, it's not worth its weight in salt anymore. Because nowadays it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And so the Marcy Lab School taught me to leverage that to get this position and then eventually my next job. So I don't have any plans to go back to college. My plans are just to figure out how to make more money. So every month I try to save about 10% of my salary. So every month that comes out to about $700 plus. I also have a 401k with my company. Annually, I'm saving about $15,900. It's a 4% employer match, and I max it out at also 10% contribution. For the credit cards that I do have, I only have one that has an annual fee, and it's my Amex Platinum, and that's about $695 a year. Back when I was at my peak spending and I was paying for everybody's dinner and going on these crazy trips and spending money on random things like an electric skateboard, I realized that I had racked up a lot of debt because I was spending more money than I had. And so I decided to basically take out a debt consolidation loan for about $30,000 and basically just kill all of my cards. I didn't close all of them. I just have them there with empty balances and I just pay off that one loan. And every month that runs me about $947. So if I were to continue paying the credit cards instead of consolidating that debt, I would have been paying almost a 25% interest rate on each of those, whereas the debt consolidation loan is about 17%. So I'm paying way less interest overall. On that loan, I believe I have about 2 years left until it's completely paid off. I think the lessons I took away from racking up that debt was realizing that just because you make more money doesn't mean you have to spend more money. And so I kept fighting with this thing called lifestyle creep. So as I would make more money, I would incur more expenses. And so I had to realize that I have to strike a balance between what's necessary and what I want and keep it within what's feasible for the actual money that I have in my pocket. I will say, because of the way that I was brought up, my relationship with money is a bit strained. I've never really been good at it because I've had to learn a lot of the skills for dealing with it on my own. So like I didn't understand how things like a credit score worked or how loans worked or what it would even look like to buy a home, because nobody in my family that I know of actually owns a home. Like I don't even think I know a homeowner directly other than my landlord, and he owns this whole building. I am not super financially disciplined because I realized that I as an individual am not disciplined. And so the way that I work is I have to develop systems that do the work for me. And that's how I've managed to create a budget and stick to it. So instead of doing the mental math of, okay, I have this one bank account and I pay all my bills through that bank account and I have to calculate this phantom balance and manage that, what I do is I say, if my budget for food is $600, I take $600 and I put it in a separate bank account, and that is all I have. Everything else does not exist. The savings account does not exist, and I leave it alone because I do better when I put friction between me and my money. I currently don't have any savings goals outside of saving 10% of my salary, mostly because I realize that you can't save your way out of poverty, and you definitely can't save your way into a house, because the price of things is going up way faster than my wages are going up and everyone else's wages. And so for me, once I'm debt free, I'm going to continue to save, but a lot of the money I have, I'm going to continue investing in myself and the ideas that I have in the hopes that that someday turns into something that can help me live my dreams. So I do actually intend to get married. I literally have a ring ready to propose. And one of the things that I thought about was the tax benefits of actually getting married. It's something that I didn't think about until my best friend got married. We work at the same job, same position, almost identical salaries, and we go to the exact same tax professional to do our taxes. And so when he got married, I noticed that his tax return was almost double what mine was. And so I would say that that's definitely an incentive that I'm looking forward to when I get married. City-specific costs that I definitely do pay if it's a really unlucky day or if I really need to get somewhere is the tolls to go in and out of Manhattan, in addition to congestion pricing. And if I am unlucky enough to have to go through Jersey, it's Toll City. So that is also something to consider. And then there's also street parking. Depending on where you go, it can be anywhere between $1 to $5 an hour, sometimes more if you're in like a really high traffic, high business area. So if you're parking your car to go get dinner in a certain neighborhood, that might run you $25, $30 on top of whatever you're paying for dinner that night. So what I notice is everyone I know who moves here and is also within my tax bracket, for whatever reason, they all want to live in Manhattan. And that is quite literally the most expensive part of the city to live in, when there are much more like lively, fun neighborhoods to live in the outer boroughs. So my one piece of advice would be explore outside of Manhattan, because there's more to the city than just the city. If I had to decide whether or not living in New York is worth the amount of money you have to pay to live here, I think it depends almost entirely on who you are and what you're here for. If this is home, then I feel like the question is irrelevant. Everyone who lives here and grew up here is kind of just fighting to stay home. And everyone who's coming here, if you're not coming here with a certain level of grit and attitude, I don't know if it's worth it, because you're pretty much just paying money to be where it's cool rather than chasing a dream like everybody else.
Yo. It's the web, buddy. All right, so
let's see the embarrassing photo. Come on.
This was back when.
Well, the thing is,
this is actually when we first met.
Yeah,
I think this is
the
exactly
day we
when
met.
we first met. They did a dance video for one of my friends' songs.
Did I go first, or was that?
Yeah, this is you right now.
Oh, I'm dead.
What is it,